If you are fat, if you are lazy, if you are out of shape, if you are broke, if you are a miserable person, then of course she's not going to be romantically interested in you. If you're showing up as a fit, strong, healthy, capable man, she's going to be attracted to that. If you are financially abundant, if you are killing it at work, if you're purpose driven, if you're motivated, if you're a man of your word, if you have integrity, and women have plenty of options. In fact, women have more options than men do. The dreaded friend zone. It's an area of life that no man wants to find himself in, but I think just about every man has been confronted with potentially being friend zoned. And the only question is whether or not you've either voluntarily or involuntarily found yourself in the friend zone. Voluntarily, because if you think that maybe if you're kind and nice enough and do and say all the right things that she'll open her heart and legs to you. Involuntary in that maybe you found yourself in that position in a marriage or a relationship and don't know how to get yourself out of it. Today, we're going to talk about 4 key things that you can do right now to ensure that you do not end up in the friend zone. And if you found yourself in the friend zone after years of marriage or continually dating as a single man, what you can do to get out of it. Now, before I get into it today, I just want to mention my good friend, speaking of friends and friend zone, one area where it's appropriate is my good friends over at Montana Knife Company. Men, we are tool-wielding animals. We use tools, whether it's knives or wrenches or firearms, to protect, provide, and preside. And I can't think of very many things that are more important than having a good, high-quality knife, whether you're out in the field, whether you're walking around on a day-to-day basis, or maybe even the kitchen as you're preparing your food for your family and friends. I want you to look no further than the American-made knife company, Montana Knife Company. If you end up going over there and picking up one of their knives, they just made and released a brand new knife, and I'm sorry, but the name of it is escaping me right offhand. But I have, I want to say about 15 of their knives at this point. And every single time I gift one of their knives or show somebody one of my knives that I use from them, they're always blown away at the quality, the cut, and the shape of it as well. So look no further than Montana Knife Company. And if you end up getting anything over there, use the code Order of Man, all one word, Order of Man at checkout. It'll save you some money, and it'll let them know that you heard about them here on the Order of Man podcast. And by the way, I've got my Montana Knife Company shirt on today. I did not realize that was the case, but there you go. They've got some great swag as well. MontanaKnifeCompany.com. Use the code Order of Man. All right, guys, let's talk about the friend zone. This is one that gets brought up quite often. The reason I wanted to share this with you today is because I got a message from a gentleman who is in a marriage that I believe, if I remember correctly, is more than 25 years strong now. And unfortunately, he feels more like a roommate to his wife than an intimate romantic companion. And this is something that happens a lot. Obviously, in a marriage, it's kids, it's day-to-day activities, it's career aspirations, and we get so comfortable with each other that we lose a lot of that intimacy and physical and romantic connection. But there's also a lot of guys who are dating, and they're trying to find Mrs. Right. They're trying to be intimate with women, and they found themselves at some crossroads or in difficult situations. And I mentioned it earlier, it's only one of two things. It's either voluntarily, and too many guys do this voluntarily. They think that if they're just nice enough, that a woman at some point, because they've said all the right things and done all the right things and were nice enough to the woman, that she'll open her heart, she'll open her mind, she'll open her soul, and or she'll open her legs. And it just isn't the case. Now, of course, you're going to find some exceptions, and inevitably I'm going to have a guy here say, I was friends with my wife for 10 years before we started dating. And to that, congratulations. But I think you're proving the point. At some point, you needed to move out of the friend zone, and you probably did one or more of the things that I'm going to share with you today to get yourself out of that situation. You are not the exception. You actually probably utilized some of the things that I'm sharing with you today. A lot of guys do this involuntarily. And they found themselves in this position, or they've been told by society that they just need to be nice and pleasant and polite, and that a woman will give her heart to you. And that isn't the case. You know, how many times do we see women who go for the bad boy, right? Why would they do that? Well, they're interested in somebody who has the capacity to protect, provide, and preside. And being nice, frankly, isn't one of the virtues that ranks very high on the list of protecting and providing and presiding. Now, I do want to say that there's a difference between being nice and kind. Kind is pleasant. Kind is somebody who cares about people, who wants to serve, who has other people's interest at heart. Nice to me, and we can debate semantics, this is why I want to define them. Nice is just trying to make everybody like you, trying not to rock the boat or ruffle feathers, trying to manipulate. And being a nice guy is a form of manipulation. Manipulate other people, in this case women, to sleep with you or to get into a romantic relationship. So guys, we're not going to work on being nice. We'll be kind. We'll be pleasant. We can be tactful in our delivery of messages and things like this, but we're not going to be these perpetual nice guys. And we're going to get ourselves out of the friend zone. So let's talk about this. Let's break this down. 4 steps. Very easy, very simple. Number 1, when you are with a woman, it's very important that you state your intentions. All right. Women don't always see it the same way we do. Obviously, there's a big chasm between the way that men and women communicate. We tend to be more direct. Women tend to be a little bit more indirect. We tend to be more logical. Women tend to be a little bit more emotionally driven. And these aren't bad necessarily, but it's important to know what they are. And it's your job as a man to state very clearly that you are not interested in a friendship. In fact, I think it's actually very difficult for a man and a woman to be simply friends. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but it certainly presents its fair share of issues. But if you're going on a date with a woman, it's a date. It's a romantic date. Women don't go on dates with their girlfriends. Men don't go on dates with their guy friends. If you're going on a date, it's because you are potentially romantically and intimately interested in this other person. And if you're not, then it's not a date. It's a hangout session. You call it whatever you want, but it's not a date. So if you're going on a date with a woman because you want to be romantically connected and she is maybe not interested in using that verbiage or not treating it like a date itself, she might be more interested in being a friend than being a romantic partner, which is fine. Not all women are going to be interested in all men, and not all men are going to be interested in all women. I've been on plenty of dates where neither one of us were interested. And I've told them, hey, I enjoyed our time together. Thanks for coming to dinner with me, but I'm not feeling the intimate, the romantic connection that I thought. And so I'm not really interested in going on another date. And in many cases, they've said, I felt the same way. And so no harm, no foul. And you move on. If you're in a relationship, maybe a long-term relationship where some of the romance has died, then I think the first thing you need to do to rebuild the romance is to explain that you're not satisfied with the level of intimacy and romanticism that you would otherwise like to see. She's not going to read your mind. You're not going to read her mind. And as a man, it's your job to communicate clearly what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, and what you would like to see in the relationship. And then she has the opportunity to either accept or reject. And that's fine. If she's not interested in the romantic side of things, that is fine. You need to move on and away from that relationship because, again, you're not interested in being friends. You have enough friends. I have enough friends. You don't need another woman as a friend. In fact, if anything, you ought to build more male friendship and relationships. So if you're in a long-term marriage, this might require you to sit down and spend some time with her, telling her that, hey, look, I don't feel connected. I would like to see more mental, emotional, and physical connection. And then you can talk about what needs to be done and what she would like to see and what your expectation is and what her expectation of you is. But ultimately, it all starts with you clearly communicating what it is you're after and then letting her make a decision as to whether or not she's interested. All right, now point number 2, after stating your intentions, is that you have a responsibility to the commitment of being outside of the friend zone and being in that relationship, that intimate romantic relationship zone. And what you need to do is you need to become more attractive. Bottom line. If you are fat, if you are lazy, if you are out of shape, if you are broke, if you are a miserable person, then of course she's not going to be romantically interested in you. Now, guys, this happens. And frankly, it's happened to me in my previous marriage where at times I was not performing to the degree that I should, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. And of course, if you're not performing at the level, she's not going to be interested in you. We can sugarcoat it. We can wash it away. We can pretend that this is not the case. But the reality is she is making her romantic and intimate decisions based on the way that you're performing. If you're showing up as a fit, strong, healthy, capable man, she's going to be attracted to that. If you are financially abundant, if you are killing it at work, if you're purpose driven, if you're motivated, if you're a man of your word, if you have integrity, I know all of these things don't maybe feel like they directly translate to the bedroom, but trust me, they do. And women have plenty of options. In fact, women have more options than men do. It's the reality of it. And I'm not going to say that we need to compete with other men, but if you don't believe that you need to show up in a powerful way, then just throw in the towel right now. Like, why would your wife want to sleep with you if you're 50 pounds overweight? What interest does your wife have in being romantically and physically and intimately connected with you if you're broke and you're lazy? Now, when I say these things, it feels like a personal indictment. It feels like a judgment. And I'm not judging you, but your woman is. She's making those decisions, and a lot of them are subconscious. She's not going to get excited about you being a broke, fat loser. So I don't think that we as men have the right to complain that our wives or these women that we're dating are not physically interested in us if we're not willing to be physically attractive. Now, all of us have varying degrees of looks, and I know I'm not like the epitome of handsomeness, but I make an effort to make sure that I'm physically attractive, that I've got financial prosperity and abundance, that I'm not putting women on pedestals that I shouldn't, that I'm purpose-driven, that I'm motivated by things outside of just my connection in the bedroom. And not ironically, those are the things that she's interested in, get her excited in a romantic way about you. So once you've communicated what you're looking for, then I think at times, and all times, it's appropriate to turn it around and put that mirror on you. Literally and figuratively. Look in the mirror. What do you look like? Should she sleep with you? Should she be physically attracted to you? Or can you understand why maybe she's repelled by it? Now, we talk at length, and I'm not going to talk about it on this podcast for the sake of time, but we've talked at length about what you can do specifically to improve your financial awareness and abundance, to improve your physical fitness, to improve your integrity and the way you're showing up, and to be a man who protects, provides, presides. The man who protects, provides, and presides the best is the man who gets all the action. You can see this in dating apps. And I don't have the exact statistics in front of me right now, but I believe it's less than 10% of the men are getting 90% of the dates on Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and Facebook dating and all these other apps. Why? Because they're physically attractive and they know how to present themselves well. You can complain about it. You can gripe about it. You can moan about it, but it isn't going to help you get any action from the girls, the women, or from your wife. Make yourself more attractive. All right. Number 3, guys, we need to be more assertive. So once you've stated what you want, you've communicated what it is you're looking for in the relationship, you're working on making yourself a more compelling partner, romantic partner to her, then the responsibility is on you to make the move. So what does that look like? Well, it's flirtatiousness. It's learning how to text appropriately with women. It's building up sexual tension. It's greeting her at the door in a way that lets her know that you're riled up and ready to go. It's also letting her know that she's beautiful and that you're physically attracted to her and that you want to be physically intimate and connected with her. Too many men are so passive because I get it, in some instances, they're worried about sexual harassment claims and things like this. I think just be smart, right? Like, should you do this at work? No. Should you read the room? Yes. If a woman shows through her words or actions that she's not interested, then just chalk it up and move on. I'm not telling you to be a creeper. I'm not telling you to be a stalker. I'm not telling you to take it further than you need or any sexual harassment or anything like that. But damn if you can't make a move. There's a guy that I follow, and he's been on the podcast. His name is David Meeson, and he talks about kissing on the first date. Like, how many guys won't actually go in because they're worried about rejection and what you're going to think? It's your job to make the move. And if she says no, then you can honor and respect that, but you're giving her the option to say no. Stop waiting around. Stop hoping that she comes on to you. It's not how women operate generally. There are some women who do, but not generally. And so it's your job as a man to wine and dine her, if you will, to romanticize her, to seduce her, if you want to use that term. And again, I don't think I need to say that there has to be some constraints or there has to be consent. I mean, I would hope, you've been listening to this podcast long enough that you already know that. I don't need to explain that, but you can make a move. You can go in for a hug. You can put your hand on her. You can play. You can flirt. You can go in for the kiss. You can do those things in an appropriate way that lets her know, oh, this guy's interested in me. And then she always has the right and the autonomy to say no. And if she does, respect it. But if she goes with it, great. Take the next step and the next step and the next step. Lead her, right? We talk about being protect, provide, preside. Preside is synonymous with leadership. That applies in the corporate setting, that applies in the personal setting, that applies as a father, and it also applies in the bedroom. Lead her. And if she wants to be led by you, she will let you know. And if she doesn't, she will also let you know. Which leads to point number 4. And point number 4 is just upholding the boundaries. Guys, if she's not interested in a romantic relationship, that's okay. There's a lot of other women who would be very attracted to you, who would be very turned on by you, who would be very interested in the way that you express your love and show how you care about that person. And if she's not the one, maybe she's not the one. But have some self-respect, have some dignity. You don't need to force it. You don't need to push it. You don't need to make yourself the whipping boy. You don't need to turn into a submissive to her. Just chalk it up. She's not interested. Now, this is a little different when it comes to a marriage. And I'm not one to just flippantly say, be out of the marriage. I'm not even going to suggest that you do that. But if she's not interested in being romantic with you in a marriage, there's a lot of conversations that need to take place. Part of that might be between you and her. And part of that might mean that you need to bring in a therapist and work through some of these things. Because a sexless marriage, a marriage devoid of romanticism, is not a marriage I'm interested in. And I don't think it's a marriage that other men are interested in either. I've yet to find a man who's not interested in that. Maybe they're out there. I haven't run across one. So you need to communicate that stuff up front, and then you need to get the help that you need to do. But also there's a lot of responsibility that you have for yourself, as I said in point number 2, becoming more attracted to her. Now, there might be some sexual trauma and some other reasons. There might be even medical conditions that keep her from wanting to have sex with you. Those things happen for sure. So address those things. Guys, she wants to please you. She wants to make you happy mentally, emotionally, and also physically. And she might actually be feeling a lot of guilt and shame around her inability to perform. And so work together to figure out what you need to figure out so that you can have the type of relationship that you want to have. I know sex and intimacy is not the only part of a relationship, but it is a part, a major part of the relationship. And not just for men, by the way. She's interested in that too. But uphold the boundaries. I remember I had one instance where I could see that there was some interest in maybe having a further relationship, but this particular woman was interested in someone else also. And I said, hey, look, I'm not interested in dating you if you're interested in somebody else. I want to be dating somebody who is interested in dating me, and that's all, because that's what I'm going to give. And she said the dreaded and feared words, well, maybe we can just be friends. And I said to her, no, we're not going to be friends. We can either date and we can be committed to each other or not. But I'm not interested in being your friend. And she said, wow. She was taken back a little bit. I said, what? She's like, I never had anybody tell me that. And I told her it's because I respect myself and I know what I want. Most men don't. So as I said earlier, most men would say, oh yeah, let's be friends, in hopes and anticipation that something will work out down the road. It won't work out. Odds are, again, there's probably an exception in there. But guys, just move on. Have some dignity. Have some self-respect. If she's putting you in that friend zone, to point number 4, uphold the boundary. I'm not interested in being friends with you. I'm interested in dating you romantically or not knowing you at all. And that's the hardline stance that I think if more men took, they'd find themselves outside of the friend zone and inside of the bedroom more often. So I hope that helps. I know for a lot of recovering nice guys, it's very difficult to do when you're talking about expressing yourself and telling a woman what you want and then expecting a certain way of showing up and having some boundaries in place that you're willing to uphold. But part of this is that, and the other part is making yourself more attractive. I like the quote or the adage that there's a fine line between flirting and harassment, and it's just based on how attractive a man is. So what does that tell you? If you want more game, then play the game better. So that's my advice for you. I'm sure you guys have other ideas and other thoughts, but I want you to stay outside of that friend zone. You're not interested in having friends. Maybe some of you are, but go make some guy friends. Go play basketball, go hit the gym, go shooting, go on trips, go hunting, do the guy stuff together. But with the women, work on developing romantic relationships, because I know that's what you want. Some guys will say, oh, no, not me. No, it's you two. And quit clinging like a desperate little puppy waiting for their master to serve them dinner to women who are not interested in you. That is the way forward. Very simple, sometimes harder for other people than it is for others, but that's what it requires. As a recap, number 1, be very clear about your intentions. Number 2, make yourself more attractive in all ways. Number 3, make a move, lead, be bold, make that move. And number 4, uphold your boundaries and move on. Have some class, move on if it's not going to work. All right, guys, I hope that helps. I hope that serves you. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, whether we're talking about the friend zone or we're talking about firearms or we're talking about self-leadership or we're talking about growing your business and growing your bank account. We've got all of the subjects available, and we'll keep sharing these things as we have over the past 9.5 years now. That is all we have for today. You got your marching orders. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.